All right, CJ, how are we feeling? Another 210.
Yeah, just I'm just trying to see all the different ways, all the different splits I can run 210. Set the record for most 210s at various splits.
But
yeah, the biggest positive split I can run 210.
How much did it hurt at the end? Because like there was a point where like you and Connor were like Kipchoge was coming back to you guys.
Yeah. At the end I felt fairly good. The last probably 800 meters felt pretty good actually. Then I was like, man, I probably should have picked it up a little bit earlier. Start kicking earlier. But yeah, I think I just you get out of rhythm, you lose momentum, especially a course like Boston where you're going up and down hills, mainly up hills, and you got a headwind coming against you. Once you kind of lose that rhythm, it's just like any race, it's hard to get it going again. And so I think fatigue-wise, obviously I was, I'm sure my legs were tired, but it was I just couldn't get that momentum and that kind of pop going. Because my cadence felt fine, but then like my splits were just like, I looked down and like, wow, that's a lot slower than I thought. So I just wasn't getting, my stride length was significantly shorting. I wasn't getting as much power forcing to the ground, which happens. But yeah, aerobically you felt fine.
Yeah.
And then when I finished, like, I wasn't cramping like last year. Didn't necessarily feel like I felt, I'll be fine to run tomorrow. Like nothing's really hurting.
Yeah.
I just got out of rhythm and ran.
So you had to make a conscious decision fairly quickly where it was like, all right, are we going? It's you and Mance going with Kipchoge in that pack, or why didn't you decide to go back with Fauble? Remember yesterday we talked and you were like, all right, I'm going to key off of those guys potentially.
Yeah. Well, I like talked to Scott. Well, I'm not talking briefly. I asked him if he was going to stay on this pace, and he was like, no. And because I wasn't really planning on it either, and then I was kind of planning on just like rolling on the downs, because the first 4 miles is a lot of downhill. So I'm like, I'm not gonna like intentionally slow down. I'm just gonna kind of just let myself roll, not really trying to do either one. But then once it flattens out, like I'm gonna, hopefully I'll just settle into that second pack. But then the second pack. The packs formed just too fast, and I was just kind of in the first pack.
Yeah.
And then like, what do? Do you just like stop? Like, well, you can't really like.
Yeah.
And then, ideally there would have been a pack at like 63 flat that would have, ran with me through the first 4, and then once it got into the rolling hills, because I don't like to like push on the uphills. I'm just not, I'm not as fit. I'm not as fast, and so. Ideally, there would have been another pack that kind of settled in, and we had the same first 4 miles that I had, and then we kind of settled in and came through at like 63 flat, and I could run with them. But it just wasn't like that. And and had I like stayed back and ran with the second pack, the end result probably would have been roughly the same. Scott really runs the second half really, really well. Could I have gone with him and beat him? Maybe, I don't really know, but there's a good chance I would have ended up right around, Matt McDonald, kind of in that second part of the pack anyways. And I beat Nico, and I don't know, the end result, on my best day I would have maybe nudged out Scott, but probably not. He just runs really well for that second half, especially through the Newton Hills. He's really just a great runner through that. I don't know. Yeah.
What happened? So the big move, right? When they took off from Kipchoge, he missed that water bottle. You probably didn't. Did you notice that, or you were a little further back at that point?
No,
but then they surged hard.
So that was at mile 16.
Yeah.
So mile 15 is kind of where I was getting dropped, and then it started raining, and I'm like kind of locking up. But I'm like, all right, mile 16, I can maybe get back into it, because a lot of times they don't run the downhills fast, because you have 2 or 3 hills after mile 16. And so they'll run the last 5 miles downhill fast, but they don't run that mile 16 that fast. So I'm thinking I'm going to be able to get myself kind of back in it or within striking distance. But literally, right, I could see them. And right when they hit the downhill, they just took off, because I could see Mance came off the back like pretty much right away, and I'm like, yeah, they're gone. Because like, I mean, you could just see their arm movement. I'm like, they're not holding back on this downhill. And then I had no idea what they were running, but I'm like, it's fast.
4:25 at one point.
Yeah, okay, that sounds right. And that mile starts out a little bit uphill, and then you don't start going downhill about maybe 400 meters into it. So they were probably running about 4:15 pace that 1,200 meter stretch downhill. So, yeah. They just, I mean,
you crushed it.
and
All
I
right,
was
so
off like a 62 first half. So,
so between now and trials, you'll probably run another marathon.
yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. Just kind of, I mean, basically, I don't know. I have nothing on the schedule. I just want to be like mentally fresh going into the trials. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But hopefully, trying to figure out like the second half, racing the second half fast for the trials.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll catch you at your next race. Thanks, CJ.
All right, cool.